I can say no other.
I'd like to pray. God help me, please. Amen. It's Whiskey Wednesday. Welcome back. This is the one where we pull a random topic out of a hat that our listener gave us, and we filtered through our attempt at a Christian worldview.
All right, so
Trey,
this week
What we got?
we're going to be talking about... Oh, this is a fun one.
Oh, no.
Is Paul available?
Oh!
My bad. I asked that one.
That was our listener.
All right.
He's got some thoughts and opinions.
Ooh. Here we go.
Feeling good about this?
Whew. Do Christians have to go to church?
Ooh.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Trey, if you are a professing Christian, you don't go to church, are you still a Christian?
I'm going to go ahead and say up front, yes. And there's sometimes when it's healthy for a Christian not to go to church.
Yeah.
That's my little bit of a progressive stance there.
That's sweet.
But let me tell you why. I think if the church that you are a part of is harming your faith more than is doing good,
Get out of there.
get out of there.
Yeah.
And two, I think, especially now with all of the ex-evangelical and a lot of movement out of Christianity into other things,
Mm-hmm.
there's still some people, and we've had conversations with people who they still have faith in God, maybe even in Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
but they've suffered too much religious trauma
Mm-hmm.
to go to church. And I'm not going to tell them they're not Christians because they don't go to church. They have trauma.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. So my 10,000-foot view is, I agree with that. I think that your church-going status is independent of your Christianity.
Yeah.
As far as are you saved or not saved, I think that's independent. Those are two separate issues.
We're not talking salvation here,
We're
Paul.
not.
You don't want to get in the conversation.
I'm not. I'm saying they're two independent things. They're not attached to each other.
Yeah.
But I do believe that it is helpful for the average Christian to attend a church.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what I want to reframe the question as this: why should Christians go to church?
Yeah. So my answer to that is that you go to church to be under, hopefully, beneficial teachings from godly people and to fellowship with other believers.
Yeah. So I think it's important that even if you're not a Christian,
Mm-hmm.
I would even say if you're not a Christian, you should be seeking a community. But if you have faith in God, you have faith in Christ, then definitely that community should be what we consider a church today, a spiritual community where we're an attempt to where there's an accountability that we're all here to seek God and to live in a way that pleases God, right?
Yeah.
And the psychological and scientific studies show how beneficial those kind of communities are for people, especially like kids and raising kids.
Yeah.
Kids need some kind of structure in their life to aim themselves toward how to live out a meaningful life. And I think the church oftentimes does a bad job at that, but at the same time, it's like that structure can be so beneficial.
Yeah, in offering a framework as well. A framework in how do you view the world, how do you interact with it. Whether you eventually end up actually agreeing with it or not is totally different. But I agree. I think there's a lot of benefits to just being inside of that type of structure, that type of worldview that someone can give you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I would also say, and this is anecdotal as well for myself, because it's like, Yeah, I think there are times when it's okay and it's maybe necessary for Christians to take a step back sometimes. I know it was a little different for me than maybe it is for some people. So for me, I grew up serving the church from the time I was like 12 or 13. I started on the worship team. I was doing sound. I was, leading worship when I got a little bit older, but I was playing on stage. So it's like that was a huge part of my childhood, a huge part of me growing up. And after doing that for so many years, there's times where I felt uncomfortable, I would say. So it's like, oh, I don't actually know what I believe about some of these things. Mm-hmm. So there's that kind of struggle, but I would say there was times even afterwards where during that, when I got older, it was like I'm feeling really burnt out. Mm. And toward the end of it, it's like I'm feeling kind of some church hurt, to use the Christianese phrase.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go so far as to label it abuse, but maybe some people could. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh yeah, I do feel some hurt in here. And it was actually beneficial for me to step back from those responsibilities and say, I'm just going to focus on my relationship with God mm-hmm. and fellowshipping with the people that I care about, and not serve right now.
Yeah, take a step back.
Yeah, which was really strange mm-hmm. for me doing that, every single Sunday for, hours a week, to be like, I'm not doing this anymore. I still attended a church.
Yeah.
But I was like, I need to step back. And it was very beneficial for me to the point where now I feel like I'm capable of serving again.
Mm-hmm. So I want to talk a little bit about I want to go back to like kids and their development. Mm-hmm. Like I want to give special focus to how some churches I've been in, whether it be infant baptism or baby dedication, how they give a call to the congregation and they say, hey, this child is now somebody you're accountable for. Watch this kid, raise this kid in the way of truth and goodness and beauty. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a shame that it gets butchered all the time.
It's true. But that's that sense of community, which is where I think churches really thrive and where a lot of them struggle a lot of times is you're supposed to be to use the word, a beacon in the community. It's like, what are you doing to serve that community? And one of those great things is baby dedication. Mm.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll fight about infant baptism maybe later in another podcast.
I don't know what your opinion is about it. That's interesting.
I already know we
should put it back in the hat, not back in.
If a listener out there wants to throw that in there, we'll talk about it.
That'd be sweet.
So here's another perspective. Go to a church that is welcoming. And what I mean by that is a lot of churches today, a lot of evangelical churches, you'll hear them say, come as you are.
Yeah.
With it's kind of a, in parentheses, don't stay that way. Or come as you are as long as you change.
As long as you look like this.
Come as you are as long as you change.
The mold.
And so one of the best sermons I've heard on, this is a different topic, but like to prove my point. Mm-hmm. One of the best sermons I've heard from a non-affirming of the gay lifestyle sermons. Well, I disagree with him on that stance, but I thought the sermon itself was very honest. Is at the end of it, he said, if you are gay, I still want you here. Mm-hmm. And I basically said, I welcome your affirming theology despite the fact that my theology differs from you.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of community you should be looking for. It's basically mm-hmm. he's saying, because it's like,
yeah,
the evangelicals are saying, come as you are, as long as you change. And he's saying, come as you are. And if this is your Christian belief, that even if it differs from mine, that doesn't have to change.
Yeah.
Your whole theology doesn't have to match everything we're saying here. Mm-hmm. As long as you are being honest as I am being honest in our pursuit of trying to work these things out and figure them out.
Yeah, because going into that too, and that's a good thing for an attendee to know. And I think even someone like a pastor or an elder to understand, it's like not everyone in your church is going to believe the same thing you believe.
Yeah.
And then for the attendees, your pastor is not going to agree with everything that you believe. Yeah. And he's going to teach based on his conviction. So yeah, that's why I think it's important for a Christian to find a welcoming church where they can feel like they can be served and serve well in. That's kind of been my mantra in finding churches and where place that I want to go. It's like, where's a church that I feel like I can be served well by, and a church that I can serve well in.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean I have to agree with everything. That doesn't mean I have to like everything, because, 10 times out of 10, I won't like everything that happens in a church. But there's importance to being in that place, serving with other believers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I say, find a place of grace. Find a place that is overspending on grace and welcoming of everybody. And there's no disclaimer.
Yeah.
So I would say, do Christians have to go to church to be a Christian? No. But it's good for you to find a place that is full of grace and full of truth and pursuing God. It's good for accountability to find a spiritual community like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's healthy to go just to go. I think it's healthier to find a place that you can feel comfortable in, a place that welcomes you. Because I've heard a lot of people, they stay in churches that are abusive to them.
Yeah,
you
could say
churches
abusive.
that are mean. And it's like, that's more of a hindrance to you than it isn't.
It's better for that church. If there's an abusive church culture, get out of there.
Yeah.
It's good for you.
Yep.
And it's good for them.
Church. Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Maybe it'll give them a wake-up call.
Yeah.
I think we'd have a huge reformation in America, in evangelical churches especially, if everybody just got up and was like, this isn't matching what Jesus' vision was. I'm out. Either I go find somewhere else or I take some time to myself to pray about what Jesus' vision really was.
Yeah, and I think in his ministry it was pretty clear that he was very welcoming.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother topic. We'll talk about who Jesus hung out with on another day. So wrap us up, Paul.
Wrap us up. So I feel like you did a great job at the end of that. Can you be a Christian and not go to church? Yes.
I hope so. God help me.
God help us. These are our opinions. But should you go just to go? No. You should go because you found a place that you can serve well in and you can be served well by. Yeah. I think it's, like we said, it's important, but it's not necessary. God help me.
God help me. God help me and our opinions. Well, let's this is the meme of the week. It's from WandaVision. What are opinions if not beliefs persevering? All right, guys. Thanks for joining us.
We can have a topic about that.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Whiskey Wednesday. Stay blessed.
Cheers.